Hi everyone. So the last lecture we saw the K connectedness of a topological space. We defined the connectivity being the largest number. So in today's lecture we are going to see the recipes how we can compute the connectedness of a topological space, and if not connectedness, at least some connectivity. If it is 0 connected, 1 connected, 2 connected, and so on. Okay, so the first one we have in this series is that we see there is a connection between the homology and the K connectedness. Because as it is, if you see, then homology is a concept which comes from homology groups, whereas K connectedness is something which we have defined using the homotopy groups. So homology groups and homotopy groups are very different things from each other, but there is a connection, and that connection is through the Hurwitz theorem, which most of you might have heard of. And to see the formal statement, what it really says is that if you have a topological space which is simply connected, which means its first homotopy group, that is the fundamental group, is trivial, then it is the first non-zero homotopy group which you hit is isomorphic to that same dimensional homology group. So the tilde here denotes that it is a reduced homology group. Okay. And this K, as I said, is the first time when you hit a non-zero group. So K is actually the minimum over pi I, minimum of I taken over pi ix non-zero. But then the statement itself tells you that instead of looking over this, what you can actually see is the first time you hit a non-trivial homology group. Okay, and all this is true provided that the space is its fundamental group is trivial. Yeah. So since we know that computing homology groups is easier compared to the computations of the fundamental group, so if we know that the first homotopy group is 0, then we can safely continue computing the homology groups and say that if, let's say, Hm is the first homology group which is non-zero, then the pi of m is going to be isomorphic to Hm of x, Hm tilde of x. Okay, and then as a special case, you can derive from here that for any non-empty space, so non-empty is just to avoid the notational differences which we had kept. The -1 connected means non-empty, 0 connected means connected, 1 connected means simply connected, and so on. So for a non-empty space, we define for k greater than equal to 1. Using this, what we see is that x is k connected if and only if pi1 is 0, which means it is simply connected, and hi tilde is 0 for all I up till this number k, right from the 0. Okay, so hi tilde being 0 also tells you that it is path connected for I equal to 0, because we are working in the reduced homology groups, and furthermore all the other homology groups are 0 up till the dimension k. So a space is going to be k connected if and only if its fundamental group vanishes and all its homology up till dimension k vanish. So this is one way you can try to show that your space is k connected. Okay, you don't have to really sit down and compute the homotopy groups. You use these techniques and tools to arrive at the connectivity of a space. Another corollary is, if you take a simplicial complex K, which is K dimensional, then, for any simplicial complex, of course, of some finite dimensional simplicial complex, it is going to be K connected if and only if its K plus 1 skeleton is K connected. Why? Because if you see from here, homology is always defined as a quotient of some boundary and cycles, right? So there you consider only two-dimensional chains at any given k. So all that it matters is that you look for the k connectedness you will have to see all the homology groups starting from 0 up to k, and for any ith dimensional homology group, you are actually looking at the boundary map with dimensions I and I plus 1, right? Therefore, for the k connectedness, it is sufficient to look for the k plus 1 skeleton, and this space is k connected if and only if this skeleton is k connected, because the higher dimensional cells anyway would not contribute to it. Okay, so for simplicial complex, this is another nice thing. You don't have to look at the entire simplicial complex, just take this part of it and compute the k connectedness. Another corollary is, if you have a k dimensional simplicial complex and it is k connected, then k is contractible. Why? Because if, let's say, this is k dimensional, then the k plus 1 skeleton of k is nothing, right? So by default, it becomes contractible, right? Just use this one. So a k-dimensional simplicial complex being k-connected actually tells you that it is contractible. It is of the same homotopy type as a single point. Okay. Now, another fact which is very important and comes very handy when you're doing calculations is that for any finite simplicial complex k, if the dimension of the simplicial complex is k and the space is k minus 1 connected, then either k is contractible, that is, it is homotopy equivalent to a point, or it is a wedge of k dimensional spheres. Okay, so this in some sense is capturing the data from here and here. So you have a space, k dimensional space, which is one less dimensional connected. So this was telling you that k dimensional space being k connected implies it is contractible. If it is k minus 1 connected, then either it is contractible, in which, or it is like in, if it was, okay, let me rephrase it first. Yeah, if the connectivity is even higher, then tells you that it is contractible. If not, then you know that the homotopy groups all up till k minus 1 dimension are 0, and in which case you can actually say that it is a homotopy equivalent to a wedge sum of k dimensional spheres. So it is the kth homotopy group is nothing but actually a wedge of k dimensional spheres up to isomorphism, sorry. Okay. Now, also in the last lecture, we saw join of spaces. So what can we say about them when we take the connectivity of individual spaces? So if, let's say, X is a space which is K connected, Y is another space which is L connected, so, and both of these spaces are triangulable or CW complexes. In this lecture itself, we'll see what a CW complex is. But what we are saying is that for a join of two spaces where one is K connected, another one is L connected, their join is K plus L plus 2 connected. Okay, so triangulable definitely tells you that all the simplicial complexes are here. So this also you can use as a result and see that when we took the n-fold join of S0, we got a space. Verify that space here. Okay. Also, when we defined the join of simplicial complex, we did it in two ways, whether we took the spaces and triangulated and saw the result, or the other way around. And here now you can see that when you take two two simplexes, then their join actually is a k plus L plus 2 dimensional simplex, right? So this is what we know about the connectivity of the joins. Now shifting our gears a little bit and coming to Another tool that we have in topological combinatorics for computing the K connectivity is when we are dealing with simplicial complexes, or when we are dealing with spaces which are covered in a nice enough manner, and then we transfer this entire topological data to a combinatorial data. We translate the language of spaces to sets and are worried about only the intersections. So we will see the behavior of intersections now. Okay. So if, let's say, A is a family of sets. So this calligraphic A is a family of sets A1, A2, AN. Then the nerve of this family is a simplicial complex, and it is defined as follows. So its zero cells are the elements 1, 2, 3, and so on up till n, and any k subset of this n forms a simplex in this simplicial complex if the corresponding AIs intersect. Okay, so this is precisely the same as saying that all those f subsets of n form a simplex if intersection of ai when I runs over f is a non-empty subset. So we are looking at just the intersection behavior of these sets. So we started with the family of sets, and then we came down to looking at just the intersections of some particular subsets. So those subsets are nice, which are corresponding to non-empty intersections of the AIs, and those particular subsets are the simplices in this simplicial complex. So this simplicial complex is called nerve of a system, and it is denoted as N of A. Okay, where A is the system which you started with. With this, we have a theorem called nerve theorem, which states that if we have subcomplexes K1, K2, Kn of a finite simplicial complex K, which cover K also, which means K is actually the union of Ki's. So any simplex you take in K, it belongs to at least one of these Ki's. Okay, that is what it means to cover. Here we are not really saying covering as spaces, but covering as a subcomplex. And in simplicial complexes, we know the structure is about the simplices. So each simplex of K belongs to one of these at least. And suppose AI is the geometric realization of the Ki, if for every non-empty set J, the intersection of AI running over J is empty or contractible, then what I say is that the nerve of this system is homotopic to the simplicial complex which is given to us. Okay. So the geometric realization of this simplicial complex is homotopy equivalent to the geometric realization of this simplicial complex. So given a simplicial complex, you constructed a set system AI, and then you look at their intersections. If each of these intersections is empty or is homotopy equivalent to a point, see, AIs are all spaces. These are topological spaces, so their intersections are also topological spaces. So contractible means homotopy equivalent to a point. So if they do not intersect at all, or if they intersect in a contractible space, then the nerve of the system is homotopy equivalent to the simplicial complex K. Okay. And if we want to see the nerve theorem, what result can it give me for the K connectedness of such a space K? We see that. So the statement says if K1, K2, Kn are subcomplexes of a finite simplicial complex K such that Ki's cover K, let Ai to be the geometric realization of Ki, And if every non-empty J, which is a subset of N, for that the intersection of AI is empty, or it is K minus mod J plus 1 connected. So see, this intersection is a topological space. Now, in the previous one, we said contractible, which means it was infinite dimensional connected. Right? Contractible means all these homotopy groups are trivial. Whereas if that is not the case, suppose the in this particular space for a particular J is K minus mod J plus 1 connected. For another J prime, this intersection, let's say, is empty or K minus mod J prime plus 1 connected. And that is true for every J which is non-empty. Then the the simplicial complex K is K connected. This K and this K are related, you see. This is K connected if and only if the nerve is K connected. Okay. So, so this is in some sense the finite dimensional case of what we saw here. Okay. And so this is another recipe how you can try to show that some topological space is K connected. I'm again saying like all these recipes, all these tools, techniques are majorly useful when you're dealing with uh, topological spaces which are triangulable in some sense, like you're dealing with simplicial complexes and you want to compute what is their homotopy type or what up till what dimension their homotopy groups vanish, etc. It all comes down to really computing the connectedness, how connected it is. And for K connectivity, you don't have to sit down and find the homotopy groups because that is extremely hard. So what you do instead is you try to come up with techniques which can simplify your calculations. And this nerve theorem is a beautiful theorem which has absolutely like strikingly no similarity, and yet it gives you such a beautiful result. That the nerve is homotopy equivalent to the complex you started with under certain conditions. Okay. So now I shift again and come to something which I promised little bit back about the CW complexes. So cell complexes intuitively, they just look like you start with some points and then you keep on throwing in the threads such that the boundary of the thread is always attached to the previously formed lower dimensional cells. Okay. So for instance, let's say I start with a 0 cell. So I can start with a bunch of 0 cells. Here I have drawn just one, but you could have had, let's say, 3 0 cells also. And then you attach a 1 cell if you like. So a 1 cell, you can attach its boundary. So its boundary has exactly 2 points. So you could attach its boundary to two distinct points. You can attach its boundary to a single same point. Both of these are legitimate. If you want to attach, let's say, a 2 cell. So a 2 cell has a boundary which consists of 1 cells, right? So this 1 cell could be attached to 1 cells in whatever way you like. So either let's say there were 4 1 cells lying like this, okay, and then you attach the ball. 2 cell is nothing but a flat piece of paper and you attach that here. So in some sense you just fill it up. Or there were like, let's say, 3 1 cells attached in this fashion which were forming a hollow triangle, and you attached a 2 cell identifying its boundary with these 1 cells at the boundary from the previously formed structure. Or you could choose to say, no, I don't want to use any 1 cell. And in which case you can do what? You can take the entire boundary of your 2 cell, which is an S1, and attach it to a 0 cell. and you end up forming a hollow ball. You get a S2. So this is also possible. All that is required is that you take a K cell and then you have to glue it to the boundary of the previously attached cells of dimension k minus 1 or lesser, right? Here, for instance, the two cells were being attached to one cells. The boundary of the two cell was being attached to one cells. Here also one cells and zero cells, of course. This point is also there, right? Whereas here, a two cell is directly getting, the boundary of the two cell is getting directly glued to a zero cell. There is no one cell coming into the picture. Similarly here, a one cell is getting its boundary glued to two zero cells. Here, the same one cell is getting its boundary points glued to single zero cell. So this way you can keep on forming your like complex, attaching cells one after another, and you all, the only rule is you start with the lowest possible dimensional cells which you want in your structure first, and then keep on adding. Because of this condition, k balls boundaries have to be attached to the k minus 1 balls or the lower dimensional balls. So formal definition says that a CW complex is a Hausdorff space. So Hausdorff, everyone recalls that it's a space where any two points can be disjointified by open sets, closed sets. Okay. So CW complex is a Hausdorff space X that is a union of a collection E alphas of disjoint spaces. And these things are the cells. So each E alpha has some dimension denoted as dimension of E alpha starting from 0 up to whatever. So E alpha being a dimension 0 means just the points. E alpha being a dimension 1 means a closed line interval. E alpha being a dimension 2 is a convex hull of points in R2 and so on. So these are your cells. So, and the n skeleton of X, so X is the space which we are defining as a CW complex. N skeleton of this CW complex is the collection of all these cells which are of dimension at most n. Okay, the most intuitive one. The second condition which it is supposed to satisfy is that if the dimension of a cell is n, then there is a continuous characteristic map chi alpha from nth n-dimensional boundary Bn to X such that the boundary of Bn, which is Sn minus 1, is mapped into the X n minus 1. So, which I informally told you that any K ball you take, its boundary has to be glued to the cells of dimension K minus 1 or lesser, right? So it's precisely this, that these E alphas are my n cell. So for every n cell, or rather for any cell which you take, if its dimension, let's say, is n, then you have to have a continuous characteristic map chi alpha from n-dimensional boundary to X, which glues the boundary of this into the n minus 1 skeleton of X. And the interior of Bn is mapped homeomorphically onto E alpha. Okay, so this E alpha sits here, right? E alpha belongs to X. So homeomorphically, which means there is no identification happening on the interior of the cells. Only the boundary of the cells gets identified, or rather gets glued. So these two conditions are enough for the finite simplicial complexes. The topology on such a complex is determined by the characteristic maps which we have defined here. This defines it uniquely, you can check. And also, all these finite simplicial CW complexes are compact. Now, if let's say See, here we did not restrict our condition on the dimension of the E alphas which come into the picture. So what if that is the case, in which I'm going to get infinite CW complexes, right? For such CW complexes, one needs further conditions, and that are that for any subset f of x which is a closed, then this any subset is closed if and only if f intersection E alpha closure is closed for every alpha in the indexing set. Okay, and remember that if it intersects, this is what you have to check, that it is closed. If not, then it is empty and by default or viciously it is closed. So checking for only those E alphas for which the closure of E alpha, that means E alpha along with its boundary, or rather the image of this in here. Okay, so image of the chi alpha, that is what is E alpha. So F intersection E alpha closure is closed if and only if F is closed. This is how you define the topology. And it is having the closure finiteness property, which means if you take for any cell E alpha, the characteristic map chi alpha chi alpha from the boundary delta of Bn intersects only finitely many cells, right? So for instance, you could have asked that, okay, so here ma'am, you have these many three one cells. Here you have four one cells. What if I want to take infinitely many one cells of extremely small length, and then I want to attach a two cell to it? So this is precisely what is being forbidden by this condition, that if you take any cell, then its boundary should not get glued with infinitely many cells. It can intersect only finitely many cells. And these two things are precisely why these spaces are called CW complexes. C stands for the closure finiteness, whereas W stands for the weak topology. So CW complex derives its name because of this. So because in general, we define these structures for the infinite possible cells as well, infinite dimensional cells. So yeah, so once you have CW complexes in hand, what is a map between these CW complexes? A map in CW, a map F, sorry, a map F from X to Y, where X and Y are CW complexes, is called cellular. So a map between CW complexes is, in general, is what you call a cellular map. Just how you have a continuous map between topological spaces, graph homomorphism between graphs, group homomorphism between groups, you have a cellular map between CW complexes. And a map is cellular if for every n non-negative, the nth skeleton of F is mapped into the nth skeleton of Y. What you would intuitively even arrive at, just how a simplicial map is defined. Any n skeleton is mapped into the n skeleton. So n skeleton of X is mapped into an n skeleton, and this has to be true for every n. If that happens, you call this map a cellular map. So yeah, this is all for today. I end it here. Thank you.